computer. And this is Frank, and it is the top of the hour, and we're going to kick off. I will be your host today. We have a very special guest today. We have the president of First Merchants, Mr. Tim McCormick. Tim, are you out there? Tim, could you unmute yourself? I see you're with us, but I don't hear you. All right. Jeff, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
All right, just want to make sure. So
Tim looks like he's unmuted, but I don't know why you can't hear him.
Okay, maybe he's not plugged in. He's real familiar with this kind of work. Mr. McCormick, can you hear us? Oh, it looks like Mr. McCormick is dialing in also. Okay, just *6 will unmute you on your phone.
*6, that's a new one. Thank you.
You got it.
Talking the whole time. Can you hear me now?
Mr. McCormick, yes, we hear you now. I just wanted to introduce you a little bit.
*6 trick.
Yep. So
thanks for having me on, Frank. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, Mr. McCormick is the president of the First Merchants, and he's going to be available for a few minutes today for questions and answers. So how long do you think you'll be able to give us, 10 or 15 minutes?
Oh, yeah, I can be on for a bit.
Okay.
Half an hour even, potentially, if people need assistance.
Okay, well, we've got some stuff that we wanted to go over.
Awesome.
Today, if you have done your homework, and everyone was assigned a homework assignment, if you've done your homework, then you should have, see if I can share my screen. Jeff, are you seeing my merchant screen?
Yes, we are.
First Merchant, okay. So if you've done your homework, then you have gotten the second DocuSign letter from First Merchants. And if you've done that, that's what we're going to go over today. And that is a real simple process. And I'm sliding down the screen to just show you to the chart. Everyone will be approved. And now, Tim, I had a question come up. What if we look on their credit report and we find fairly good credit report, except there was a charge off? Will that person still be allowed to become a reseller and get the credit line?
Yeah, so I'm going to, if you've been in finance for a long time, I'm going to say to them things that aren't going to make sense to you. And the reality is they don't look at the report. They just look at the score. It's an automated thing by a computer. They're not digging through to see if you had a bankruptcy 5 years ago. They're not looking to see if you have thin credit. They're not looking at whether you're going to have 82 charge-offs, but if you have a 700 FICO, you're getting what a 700 FICO guy gets. It's that simple. Doesn't make sense. And it might change in the future. Honestly, I think there's a possibility it may change. But for now, let's take advantage of it and sell as many of these as we can.
I just want to tell you that that's got to be music to my ears and music to everyone else's ears who's on the call today. How many times have I had thin credit? Thin credit means they only have 1 or 2 credit cards. There might be a $300 limit, and that's it. But they pay them religiously, so they have a 720 or 750. Well, that won't get you a mortgage. That won't get you an automobile, but it will get you $10,000 with this company. Well, it'll get it close to 10,000. Let's see, 720.
I had a 19-year-old girl. Get 10 grand.
Oh my God, that's the other question.
Let that soak in.
I can't fathom it. I had somebody yesterday who had an 18-year-old child. Are we going to fund an 18-year-old child?
It's fine to me. As long as the credit's there. You know, the hard part is at that age, you don't even have a chance to have a good score. But this is really when you get those thin credit files, right? So let me just, and look, you guys, Frank, you're a credit expert, right? So I may say some things. You may say that's not exactly right. But my understanding of the FICO score is basically your likelihood to default on your debt within the next 30 days.
90.
If you have no credit
90
cards,
days.
90 days? Okay,
Yeah.
90, right? If you have no credit cards, obviously you're pretty low risk of defaulting. So you could have a great score with 0 credit cards, potentially. Like, we don't care about that. We just care about the score. Like normally they'd be looking at all that stuff, but not us. You may only have a car loan from 7 years ago. And you know, that means you could have a good score because you're very unlikely to default on debt because you don't even have any debt. That's fine.
Well, this wasn't planned and not scripted, but you know, what you just told me, I am going to go back to the archive. I call it my acres of diamonds. All of the people that I couldn't help in the past. Wow. That will be an acres of diamonds. This is, guys, whoever's listening here, I am in shock. What Tim said is true. I've been in credit restoration and repairs since the early 80s. Well, I think Tim was still in grade school. But anyway, I was in credit repair for a long time. And what he's saying is magical words to my ears. I'm loving it. All right. So what
and I can't promise it'll be around forever. So honestly, if you have any desire to do this, now is the time. It's never going to be easier than to sign somebody up than right now. I had a reseller come on this week where he started on Tuesday, literally submitted his information on Tuesday. And today he's already turned in his 5th contract. I don't even have his merchant account set up yet. He's already got 5 contracts in. So, you know, it can be that easy.
This is music to my ears. I can't stand it. Do you want to? By the way, Tim, are you on the phone or are you on a computer?
I'm on a phone. Does it sound okay?
Well, yeah, you sound excellent. But you can't see what's on my screen. So.
Oh, I can see. I can see that you've got the credit criteria up there. I'm just called in through my phone.
Okay. So
Frank and Tim, there's a question in the chat box. Has to do with what you're talking about right now. So if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead. Shoot it.
What happens if I am at 1 score and then end up increasing my score a short time later? When they signed up for the first merchant and they have 1 score, but then it goes up.
Great. Let me answer that. And let me answer this with 2 parts. 1, I'm going to go ahead and answer this now. But 2, this whole week, and if you're already a reseller, you'd already know this, we had what I call Reseller Week, where I did a bunch of different trainings, and they're all going to be recorded. They've all been recorded, and they'll be uploaded into an online area that everybody has access to. So this exact question and a lot of other ones have been addressed, and you'll be able to view them whenever you want. But when somebody comes in fact, I wish I could show you, but when somebody enrolls or gets their funding approval, they get an email that says, congratulations, you just got whatever, right? And a lot of people, especially if you're marketing to people with challenge credit, they're not going to get that much, right? Maybe they only got $500 and they're bummed about it. The email immediately tells them 2 things. If you want to get more funding, there's 2 things you can do. 1, if your score increases by 50 points or more, let us know and we will re-review you. You could potentially get an increase. So that answers that question. And that's good to keep in mind, where I had a client who was signing up and they said, whoa, you know what? I just filled out all my forms, but I just checked my Credit Karma and something hit my account that's not mine and dropped my score by 100 points. I don't want to sign up now. And so I went and I said, what happens in these situations? They said, yeah, just if they get an increase, let us know and we can re-review and bump it up. They don't want to do it all the time. Like, please don't come and ask me to do it 3 or 4 times in a year. That's just annoying, right? Because what they really want to do is they want to base it on your business revenue. So anytime you get an increase on your personal credit score, we can request an increase. I would say you probably can do that once or twice. But after that, anytime you, as much as once a quarter, you can submit your business information and get an increase based on your business revenue. And that can go all the way up to 100 grand. So you can get up to 10 grand based on your credit alone, but up to 100 grand if you have a business and you have revenue going through there based on the revenue flow.
And so having business could also mean just marketing this program itself, if we're signing up end users on this program itself, that is business enough. Is that correct?
It is business. It is cash flow. I will say though that if you, for example, got $5,000 and you're selling enough of these to earn $5,000 a month through your merchant account, that's kind of a lot. That's 50 clients a month, or 10, 20 resellers. They're not going to probably give you an increase from $5,000 if you only have $5,000 a month in revenue, right? Because it's not like a one-to-one on your revenue. And I went into a whole like equation in the training we did on who qualifies for more. But for example, I had somebody who got $10,000 on their initial line. I was only doing about $2,000 a month through the merchant account, and they asked for a business increase. I hope you guys are understanding like the math behind that. Doesn't really make sense, right? They can give you an increase if you're, like we had a guy who got his line bumped from $500 to $75,000. So you can go up a lot, but he's doing a couple $100,000 a month through his business. So that makes more sense. Is that making sense to everybody?
Perfectly good sense. Sure. Did you have another question?
Yeah, I got two of them on here. Can I apply with two separate corporations that I own and access a credit line for both?
I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I've had somebody approved for 3, but none of them were processing because of COVID. So they actually suspended 2 of them and just waited. And now supposedly 2 of them are supposed to be processing again, and we may reapply or try to get it reopened. But I haven't actually seen somebody successfully have 2 accounts open at the same time. So I don't want to guarantee it. It's possible. But remember, the idea here is that you actually have a business for each one with a merchant account and you're processing revenue. If you actually have 2 businesses that are processing revenue, there's a decent chance I can get it through. If it's just, you trying to get more money based on 2 LLCs, then probably not.
But if it was father had one business, mother had a different business, and daughter had a third business, that would be okay.
Yeah, you're using that exact example that I mentioned.
As long as they're all doing business.
That was the 19-year-old got $10,000. The daughter got $10,000. The mom got $3,500, and the dad got $800. So between the 2 of them, it got almost $15,000. Or the 3 of them, they got almost $15,000.
Wow, fantastic!
And the last question I have on here is, someone says they have 20K average in their business account, but they have a low credit score. Does one affect the other?
Okay, so yeah, let's just reiterate. When you come in and apply, first stage is always going to be based on your personal credit score. Now, I tell that to some people and they think it's personal guaranteed or personal reporting. They've actually called it a personal line. This is not a personal line. It does not personally report. There's no personal guarantee. It's the same thing as when you submit your business stuff. But to start off, stage 1, based on your credit score only. And really, that's good. That way, it's slam dunk, super simple to just open an account. After it's open, we can look at your business to see if you can get you an increase. But they won't do it initially. They'll wait until after you have an open account to do so.
Okay. Jean, did you have any questions for Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
By the way, I'm sorry to jump in here. Jacques, I see Jacques is one of the guys that asked the question.
Yes.
Can you put your last name into the box there, Jacques? I think I got an agreement for you, and it wasn't tagged. I didn't know who to associate it with. If you're the Jacques that signed up in the last 24 hours, it came in untagged, and I need to get that to Frank.
Yeah, he put it in.
There you go. That's you. Okay. Yes. Frank, I got Jacques' enrollment. I'll send it over to you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But Gene, do we have some questions before we go into the actual filling out of the forms? I'd like to get any of the questions out of the way quickly. So if you have some questions, Gene, please go ahead and ask.
There are 2 that people have asked me about. What is the entire process from client to success? It seems like there are 2 layers, Mr. McCormick. A first pre-approval and then a final approval. Could you talk about the entire process, not in detail, but globally?
Sure. Yeah, we don't have a pre-approval. Basically, you come in, and if you need a merchant account, we set it up for you. And then we get the line of credit, and your line of credit will initially be opened based on your credit score, up to 10 grand. Then afterwards, optionally, and as much as every 3 months, if you want to keep doing it, you can submit your business revenues and ask for an increase. So you can get up to 10 grand based on your personal credit. And then, sorry, and then increase based on your business revenues.
Thank you. That's really good.
Great.
The second question is, some people have been under the impression that this is a zero interest charging program. Can you talk about that structure, how it works, so that people don't pay interest like they do at a bank? Or...
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, there is going to be an interest rate. The interest rate on the card is anywhere from 9 to 19% plus prime. A lot of people are coming in at the 14, 15% plus prime. So you're looking around 18% or something is what most people will get as an interest rate. But what you're referring to is something I mentioned in the past, is that this is really designed to be a working capital line. Working capital meaning short-term expenses, right? So I think the ideal situation is somebody comes in, they get our financing and maybe a few credit cards or something, and now they have short-term financing and mid-term financing, if you will, right? Where the expenses that they have every month, they put on our line, and they're going to be incurred and then paid off as the money comes to the merchant account relatively quickly. Anything that's paid off within, say, 30 to 45 days gets paid off within the grace period, where there is zero interest charged at all. So one of my bigger clients, the guy who I mentioned who came in at $500, now his line is $75,000. At any moment in time, you can look at his line of credit, and it's always used, maxed out, and he doesn't pay any interest because he's constantly revolving the money and paying it off as it comes in. Now, you may be sitting here thinking, what's the point? Why don't I just use a debit card for that, right? Why, if I'm just paying it off as soon as it comes in, is this useless? Not at all. What this does is it allows you to float your expenses to when the money comes in, right? So I know some businesses, 70% of their expenses are on the first of the month. You got rent, phone, everything seems to hit at one time. Well, 70% of your income doesn't come in once a month. So what you have to do is you got to store up a bunch of cash in your bank that's just sitting there doing nothing, so that when the first comes, you can pay it off. Well, now you don't have to worry about that. Now, instead, you just pay the expenses when they come in, and as your money comes in later, it allows you to delay paying things by, up to 45 days, which can save you a lot of money, depending on what you're doing. So that's would be the benefit.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Mr. Allier, that he has covered already. Mr. McCormick has covered the other question, which was, are all potential clients accepted no matter what their credit number is? I think he already addressed that. So thank you.
Yeah, as long as you have a U.S. credit score. That's the key. Of course, if you don't have one, then that's not going to work. But
well, that opened up a can of worms. I have many, many clients that are in other countries, but they have businesses in this country and they have U.S. credit scores. So can I offer this program to those people?
That's a great question, man. I do not know because I haven't had that happen yet. So what I think I'm hearing is you got John living in Thailand who has a social security number and a credit score.
Yes, in the United
and John
States.
owns a business that he operates in Thailand.
No, in the United
potentially.
States. No, in the United States. He owns he lives in Thailand, but his business is in the United States.
Probably. If he has a U.S. mailing address and we can apply using the U.S. address and the U.S. business, then effectively he's a U.S. citizen getting financing.
Yeah, that's the answer. Yes, that's the situation. I've got one in England the same way. So, and
really?
Canada, and the Shetland Islands, and
seriously?
Yeah, really.
Really? Wow.
All right.
Okay.
So we can get those people funded. Fantastic. Thank you.
I think so. Again, I do try to throw the caveat in there. I haven't actually done it yet, so let's try one and see what happens. But it sounds like we should be able to do it.
Okay. New Zealand, yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
Great.
And Jeff, are there any other questions, or would we like to? First of all, Mr. McCormick, do you have anything else that you'd like to tell us about the program?
Well, I mean, I could talk for hours, and I don't want to do that to you guys. If you guys sign in, you should go through the training because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I broke the training into two parts: a quick start series, which is a series of shorter. I got 4 about 20-minute long trainings that cover everything you need to start selling fast. Because obviously, you don't want to sell something that takes a long time to get paid, right? You're gonna, especially if it's $100, you want to figure out how to bang them out really quickly. And then I have a separate series that is longer that goes into detail on all the subjects, like the benefits of the program, who qualifies and for how much, some of the things we've been touching on today. But I will say this: I set up everybody with a short link, a marketing link as a reseller, and that's really taken off to the point where DocuSign reached out to me. Now they want me to pay them more money because all of a sudden our account has exploded with interest. So I can tell you confidently that using the short links and getting people in, you're going to get a lot of interest to the point where they're asking me for more money. That's fine. I'm not asking you for more money, but it's really going well. And I think the thing that I got the most excited about when I started offering this is I was like, this thing, when I started selling it, is the simplest type of financing I've ever offered. I've never had something where 98% of my clients get funded as opposed to 2% of my clients get funded and 98% I got to turn down. That's like so frustrating. So I'm confident that regardless of your background and experience in finance, with a short amount of training, you can start offering this to people, give them your short link, and they just sign up. You will like it. It's very easy.
Okay, so now you mentioned that Jacques has gotten his DocuSign back to him, and you forwarded it to me. Their homework,
I haven't sent it yet.
Okay, their homework last night was to go to my short link so that they would get their first DocuSign letter and then send it to you, and then you would send them this contract that's on the screen right now. How many would you say have done their homework last night? How many new files did you have open up last night and today?
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about from you. I mean, we probably had 20 come in the last 36 hours. Okay. But I am not watching to see.
Well, I hope 10 or 15 of them were from my students, because we're right now in the middle of the training, and not to the middle, we're almost to the end. There's only one more day of training. So I certainly hope that they all did their homework. All right.
Reginald, Regina Butler?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be Reginald?
Yep.
Regina.
Oh, Regina. Okay. Is it Regina and Reginald? Or are you guys?
No, Reginald is one guy. Regina is somebody else.
We're separate.
I thought maybe well, yeah, I mean, I get that. Okay. Yeah. So Regina did it. There you go. That one just came in.
How about
just under the line?
Vernice is in a holding pattern. Is
Vernice on right now?
I don't know. Vernice, are you on today? Okay. Probably not.
Because when you talk to her, I've actually been trying to.
I don't see her name.
She's not on, right? Okay. Well, just, you know, and this is going to happen with your clients sometimes. Vernice, we set up a merchant account, no problem. That is up and functional. And then there's an email that.
She is on.
She is on? Great. Well, there's an email that goes out to that you have to click on to set up the line of credit. Frank will know because he went through the process. And it's been about 10 days and she hasn't opened it yet. We've called a few times and haven't been able to get through. So Vernice, if you're listening, please call us, because you're ready to get your line of credit right now. You just got to click on that link and go through answer the questions. And that's it. You're at the finish line. Oh, unless if I remember, you might have a fraud alert on your credit report that has to be resolved. I'm not sure.
Yes, Vernice did have a fraud alert, and she called her bank, and I told her that she needs to call the bureau to get the fraud alert removed. Is there anything else that she could do to get that fraud alert removed if that's the problem?
Generally, you just call Experian, and I can. I mean, there's a few different ways to get the fraud alerts removed. Unfortunately, fraud alerts are annoying. I don't need the. Just so you guys know, we don't need the fraud alert removed. It's okay if it's there. It just has to have a phone number listed in it, because they will literally, both for the merchant account and for the line of credit, they will look at that fraud alert. You should be happy about this. I mean, they're actually doing their job. They'll look at it, and they will call the number listed in the fraud alert. And you, of course, need to answer the phone, of course, and then they'll validate that it's you. And then they will say, okay, this really is the right person applying for financing.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, it's easier to add a number, I think, than have it removed.
Okay, so Bernice?
She said, I don't have that link, and I called Experian, and they said no fraud alert.
Experian told her she doesn't have a fraud alert. I mean, do you have a credit monitoring service? Here's another thing. Occasionally, some weird things happen. Not a lot, but occasionally. I had a client who had a fraud alert, and the underwriter said that person needs to add a phone number to it. And then I got the person on the phone. They logged into like a Credit Karma type site and pulled up the fraud alert and said, look, the phone number's right there. I had them print out a copy of it. I sent it, and then they cleared it by just looking at it. So if you have a credit monitoring service and you can log in and verify that there is no fraud alert, show it to us, please. When we're on the same page and we want to help you out to get it done. If that is the case, just give us a call. We'll work through it with you.
Can you also forward her that initial email again? So you said that she had not opened that email in 10 days. If you could resend.
Yeah, it's not like me just sending another email from my outbox. You know what I mean? This is the actual formal enrollment email. For me to have it reissued, I need to cancel and invalidate it and have it resent out. Probably went to your spam folder. And so just call us. This is the normal process, is that we get on the phone with whoever is signing it, and we stay on the phone the whole time as they click through it. That way we avoid any hiccups that might happen, and we ensure that you get your funding as soon as possible. So give me a call, or I'll call you. I believe Allie from my office has texted and called a few times, hasn't been able to get you on the phone. And that would be a quick way to resolve that and get through whatever that is.
Okay, and it is very important for you to know this, and also tell your clients the company will be calling you, and they are talking about your money. So even if you're screening your phone calls, please answer this one, because if they don't give you the money, they'll give it to somebody else. They'll give your money away. So don't do that. Don't screen the call. Make sure you answer the call. It's real important.
Right. Eloise, I wanted to speak for a minute on fraud alert.
Okay, why don't we unmute
Great.
Eloise and let's talk. Eloise is our paralegal. So Eloise, go ahead.
By the way,
unmute yourself.
David Jones just enrolled. Hello, David. Welcome. Hope you're on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Frank?
Yeah.
Okay, on Experian, there is a form that needs to go to Experian website. They're gonna have to provide 2 copies of their ID and a letter that's a statement about the fraud. But they will be required to fill out a form, and then once they get it, they'll look at it and they should take it off the credit report.
Okay, now that doesn't apply to everyone, but to some people, if you have a fraud alert on, you do need to contact Experian, and exactly what Eloise says is exactly correct. But in Bernice's situation, she did that, and she did not have a fraud alert on it. So we need to figure out, Bernice, you just need to call Mr. McCormick and talk.
Yeah, send us a copy. If you checked and there's no fraud alert, send us a printout of that, and we'll use that to fight for you. Who knows what they're looking at? Weird things happen sometimes, and we're happy to do that.
Okay, so it is at the half hour right now, and I like to respect people's time. But I do want to ask you one more very, very pointed, important question. Everyone who did their homework last night and filled out the initial DocuSign should have received this, what's on my screen right now today. So if you did your homework last night and you filled this out today, you're going to get approved when? When will they get approved?
So if somebody filled in everything completely within the last, well, let's look at it this way. The moment that Frank sends it to me, then somebody in my office is going to review and make sure it's complete. So of course, if Frank didn't get the complete information, then he's going to need to ask you for it, or if Frank sent it to us incomplete, we're going to need to ask for it. Like I'm looking at one right now where the voided check doesn't have a name on it. And I know these are sound ticky-tacky, but it matters, right? If we need a voided check, we need to have the business name on there. And in the absence of that, you need to get a bank statement that shows the business name or a bank letter. So that's going to be a holdup that needs to be resolved. But let's just assume we get a complete submission where everything's in there. Usually within an hour, it will be cleared for processing. If there is a pre-existing merchant account, you could get approved for your line of credit same day. If we need to set up a merchant account, then you want to give us a couple days. I like to tell people, assume that you're going to find out how much funding you're going to get. You basically get approved for funding, officially approved within 7 days. Give us 7 days. That's a couple days to set up the merchant account, a couple days for who knows what might happen with a fraud alert. You know, there are some circumstances it could take up to a month, right? Let's say your business is a credit repair business and we need to send you to our specialty merchant services provider. That's going to take a couple weeks instead of a couple hours. Unfortunately, high-risk businesses, I had somebody come in who has a business credit building website. He got declined. Now I got to take him to specialty. That's going to take a couple weeks. So there's no, obviously we're not guaranteeing it'll get it in a week, but 85% of the clients will find out how much they're getting approved. They're going to get approved within 7 days, and then you get your funding about a week from that point. Is that thorough enough?
That was an extremely thorough answer.
Overly thorough? Sorry.
Overly thorough. No, that was very good. Because unfortunately, I was telling people that if they got their homework in yesterday and they got this completely filled out and over to me today, and I submitted it to you, that you would have it approved within a couple of hours, and by midweek next week, they might be seeing their funds. So that I got to stretch that to at least a little bit, give you a little bit more time. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it this way, right? If we need to set up a merchant account for you, then I probably should have you speak with one of our representatives from merchant services so that we understand how you are going to use the merchant account. Do you need a hand swiper? Do you need a gateway so you can link it to a website, you know, or basically how are you going to use it? Based on how you use it determines what type of merchant account we set up for you. So generally there's going to be a first phone call that'll happen within the day, normally within 24 hours, where we find out what your needs are. If you're a reseller, then they don't do that call actually because everybody gets the exact same thing. So in that sense, they won't need to do that, but we'll still have somebody in merchant services needs to look at it. They need to type up the terms and conditions for the merchant account itself and send it to you. That's a second DocuSign that you need to sign. When that comes back, then we submit it. So it could be a couple hours, or of course, if you submit it in the middle of the night, nobody's working in the middle of the night. Those tend to get approved really quick once they get submitted within a couple hours. So, but you see along the path, a lot of things could happen that could make it take it a day. You know, you submit it at 7 o'clock Pacific. We see it in the morning. You get a call midday. Then they send the agreement to you. You don't sign it for a couple of days. You know, those things can happen too.
Okay.
But I have had people. I had one guy submitted at noon who by 4:30 had a merchant account and a line of credit approved. That can happen.
Well, the first scenario was worst case scenario. the last story was best case scenario. So let's stick with something halfway in between. Get your homework done. Get it filled out. Get it into me. Let me approve it and give it over to Mr. McCormick. And who knows, you might have your funding by the middle of next week or maybe the middle of the following week. But you will have your funding, and you will want another question. They'll be able to start selling, because everyone on the phone is signing up as resellers. Everyone on this call is going to be a reseller. So they can
Great.
begin marketing this product when?
Well, you know, you can do it right away, but generally what happens is you're going to want to have your short link because it's so much easier to do it that way. The short link is usually issued within 24 to 48 hours of you coming in, and it's not dependent on you having your merchant account or line of credit yet. We basically get to it as quickly as we can and get it out to you.
So
If you get a signed agreement back before you have your merchant account, then again, you can just sit on it until your merchant account's ready, or go ahead and submit it and choose to process the payment later, or, you know, whatever you want to do.
Okay. All right.
I have one more question.
Okay.
The gentleman with the voided check without a company name on it wants to know if he can send a bank statement with the check. Would that work?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, but I think you said, can you send a bank statement? Yes. We got 4 conditions. I'll go real quick. 4 conditions in order to come on as client. You got to sign the enrollment form, and then the 4 things are: we need a driver's license. You got to be able to read it. We had somebody submit one you couldn't read, so you got to be able. It's got to be a legible picture. We need a voided check with the business name on there, or a bank statement that shows the business name, or a bank letter. Now that's in the order. You know, voided check is the best. Bank statement is second, because again, if you got a negative bank balance or something, maybe you don't want to show it to somebody. So I like the check best, but a lot of people don't have checks. And then third is you could go into the bank and get a signed letter. It needs to be signed. They will actually call the person whose name's on that letter. So again, the best option is just have a check, but a lot of people don't have it. Then after that, we need articles of incorporation, or a DBA, or a business license. You can be a sole proprietor with a business license without even a DBA. That's fine. Then the last one is, did I just hit all of them? I was, the EIN letter. And if you're a sole prop and you never got your EIN, the process is really easy, free, and fast online. You just go to irs.gov, you know, search in Google for get my EIN number, and make sure you don't pay any money. Make sure you don't go to one of those companies to try to sell you something. It is free, fast, and easy online through the IRS. Make sure you're at irs.gov. You can do it, and at the end of the process, they'll give you an option. They say, do you want us to mail this to you, or do you want to download it right now? I hope the answer is obvious, but for somebody who wasn't, we had a client who decided to have it mailed to them. Please, just download it, because then you get it instantly. And you don't have to wait a week. That client is still waiting, I think. So, you know, download it, and then you can submit it. I've had people apply for the EIN and submit the contract 5 minutes later, and that's good for us. It doesn't need to be aged in any way.
And if all of that is too complicated for you, we have Eloise on the call today, and you have Eloise on all of the training. Her email is and her phone number is there. Eloise can do the whole thing for you if you need it. So you don't worry.
That'd be great.
If it's too complicated, or don't worry if you're computer challenged, or don't worry if you just don't have time. Eloise is available. She's our paralegal. She can do it for you.
And that's a great resource, by the way, guys. Don't be afraid to use it. I'll give you an example of somebody could have used that help. On my last training that I got off right before I came on here, I had a client who got an EIN issued for sole proprietorship 26 years ago. And then he went and he tried to get a new EIN now, and the IRS told him, no, you had an EIN issued for sole prop 26 years ago, and we won't give you a new one because it's sole prop to sole prop. If he'd done an LLC, they would have given him a new one. So, and now he has to apply for a replacement EIN letter, which they will not give you a replacement. They'll only give you a letter 147C, and then they can fax it to you, which goes out right away, or mail it to you again. anyway, getting help with these things, it can be real complicated. So if Eloise is helping with all this, awesome. You should definitely take advantage of that.
So Tim, I'm going to make available to you Eloise's services. So if all of the other member offices, if they have a problem, you can use Eloise.
Yeah, please.
You can use Eloise.
Shoot me an email.
Her information. And
Yeah, please. I'd love
that'll
to.
help. Now, Jean, are you still on the call, Jean?
Yes.
Okay, I have to apologize. You were right.
It's okay. It's okay.
Mr. McCormick, we thank you for your time. We thank you for answering all the questions. Before we let you go, is there any last questions? This is it, because we're way past the half hour. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up.
Frank, can you just give out Eloise's telephone number again, please?
I don't have it on my screen right now, but yes, I will send it out to everyone. But it is on your invitation that you got today. It's on
okay,
that
thank
invitation.
you.
And but I'll send it out to everyone again. All right, if there's no other questions, I want to say again, Mr. McCormick, thank you very much for coming on the call. We certainly
Thank you.
appreciate it. And everyone, get your homework in. You heard them. We're funding everybody. And this is the man that we have on the phone. So we're not talking to a salesman. This is the man. All right, guys, at the end of every call.
Frank, I just put your link in the chat box because somebody wanted to know what it was. And if anybody else needs it, it's in the chat box.
Okay.
1st.app/EZFI.
That's correct. What Jeff was just saying is the number one, the letter ST period APP/EZFI. Now it's getting ready to be the end of the call, and it's the time that I like to make a lot of noise. So everybody,
Thanks, Frank.